Welcome to Drill Down Earnings. We have second quarter results from Crowdstrike. Everyone knows the name Crowdstrike thanks to the nightmare the company caused the world just a few weeks ago. Let's talk about the results we got from this company. I'm Cory Johnson, Chief Market Strategist, and I want to look at these numbers because this is the second largest company in all of cybersecurity, competing with Palo Alto Networks, and an interesting one as well. Wall Street likes a beat or a miss. This was a beat. Wall Street wanted $956 million in revenues. They got 964. Wall Street wanted 97 cents. It got $1.04. Whatever. The business is what's interesting here, not the miss or the beat. So the actual numbers for the quarter, I mentioned $964 million in revenue. That's up 32%. And their annual recurring revenues grew 32% as well on a year-over-year basis. They had $218 million in net new annual recurring revenues. So those are the accounts that are going to pay them for a while. And those are kind of the two numbers we track in addition to revenues. But 32% revenue growth is really strong. And interestingly, the ARR growth exactly matched the growth in revenues for the company. And this company's profitable now. For the longest time, this company was losing money, but gaining share and gaining in revenues. Now it's doing all of that at the same time and showing a profit. A modest profit to be sure, but some profit's better than none, and they've got 5 quarters of it, despite some high expenses that came up in the last quarter. How did the stock react? The stock sold off a little bit, 4% down 4% in after-hours trading. But that's after an 84% year. And the crash caused by all the Microsoft systems that ran this update a few months ago from Crowdstrike was kind of the number one topic on the conference call. And CEO George Kurtz, we love George Kurtz, he's a friend of the show, friend of the Drill Down podcast a few times, nice guy. So, I'm a sucker for a nice person, and George Kurtz is definitely that. But he was a little defensive on the call, talking about the hack, talking about the mischaracterization of the hack. And it seemed to me, I'm going to let you listen yourself, it seemed to me that he was calling out his competitor, Palo Alto Networks, saying they were putting a false narrative out in the market. And it was hard to see in the results. I'll show you another way to look at the results in a moment. But listen to what he had to say about the false narratives, according to CrowdStrike, about the CrowdStrike caused crash in Microsoft systems and what that meant and what the real story was behind it.
So despite a lot of the false narratives and misinformation from our competitors, I want to be clear that this was not a kernel update. This was a code update. It was not a code update. It was a configuration update. And we already covered the remediation in our prior remarks. When we think about the architecture of what we've built and re-architecting it, I've got to set the record straight on that as well. We have best-in-class architecture, and we lead the industry for a reason. We have greater efficacy, greater manageability, and greater scalability than our competitors. And I just want to give you an example of that. If you look at the latest MITRE results, Falcon had 98% coverage. Our next-gen competitor had 79% coverage. It took Falcon 4 minutes for mean time to detection. It took our competitor 47 minutes. And the list goes on and on. If we think about the architecture as well, we have a very lightweight agent, requires 100 megs of storage. Our competitor, as a heavy agent, requires 3 gigabytes of storage in the Windows environment. So we didn't become number one in the market by having a poor architecture. We became number one by having a great architecture. We talked about what we've changed here in terms of our configuration updates, and we feel confident about that going forward, and our customers feel confident about that. So, we'll continue to work with Microsoft as part of the ecosystem as they look to provide further enhancements around kernel access.
So I'm not going to go any further into the weeds except to say that the thing that happened is the way that Microsoft allows CrowdStrike into the kernel of its Windows operating system was the access to that caused this crash. Didn't have to cause a crash, but if they had not had access to those kernels, it wouldn't have been such a problem. But indeed, that's how the Microsoft system works, and that's what happened with CrowdStrike. Nonetheless, interesting stuff there from George Kurtz, co-founder and CEO of CrowdStrike. The other co-founder, by the way, Dmitry Alpovich, if I said his name right, and I'm sure I didn't, wrote this great book I just finished a few weeks ago called World on the Brink, How America Can Beat China in the Race for the 21st Century. Got to check this book out. Recommended read. Yeah, you get book reviews here too. Who knew? But what's it all mean? What's your big Drill Down Earnings takeaway? I'm going to have that for you with the Drill Down Earnings Bite right after this.
The Drill Down is brought to you by Futurum Group, where analysts, researchers, advisors, content creators, and marketing experts help business leaders anticipate and understand shifts in their industries and build strategies to leverage disruptive innovation. With deep analysis, Futurum Group's extensive industry experience delivers reliable research and data, thought leadership, and actionable advice to help you with your strategy and go-to-market efforts. Futurum Group.
So CrowdStrike just reporting Q2 earnings. Here's the essential summary, the stuff you really need to know. $964 million in revenues, almost to $1 billion in revenues, with 32% year-over-year growth. Just fantastic growth for this quarter with profits. But while their ARRs, their annual recurring revenues, recede at 32% growth as well, the new ARR is growing at only 11%, and maybe that's the one place you can see the impact on the CrowdStrike results from the CrowdStrike-caused crash that happened just a few weeks ago. All right, thanks for listening to Drill Down Earnings. I'm Cory Johnson. And you can check me out at X, at CoryTV. Check us out on at Drill Down Pod and Instagram and TikTok. But leave some comments for us on what used to be called Twitter and is now called X, and we can hear what you've got to say and see what you want us to do in the future.